Let's discuss the 5 elements theory and its application in TCM. The first application is to explain the physiological function of the 5 viscera and their relationships. So to explain this relates to explaining the characteristics of the physiological functions in the 5 viscera. So the 5 element theory classifies the 5 Zhang viscera into 5 elements to explain their physiological functions. For example, the liver prefers to free flow of qi and tends to be free from obstruction. So its characteristic of the physiological function is to smoothen qi dynamically. This is similar to the characteristics of wood of growing and flowering. Therefore, the liver pertains to wood. The rest can be explained in the same order. Second function is to explain the inner relationships among the 5 viscera. Because 5 Zhang viscera are attributed to the 5 elements, not only their physiological functions can be explained by this theory, but also their inner relationships can be explained by the generating and restricting cycles. Generation among the 5 elements may be used to explain the generating relationships among the 5 Zhang viscera. For instance, the liver stores blood to support the heart. Thus, wood generates fire and liver promotes heart, and so on. The restricting relationships among the 5 Zhang viscera can be explained in terms of restriction among the 5 elements. For instance, the transformation and transportation by the spleen may prevent the disorder of kidney, which is water, which is referred to as earth restricting water. The kidney, which pertains to water, is yin, which goes up to prevent the hyperactivity of the heart, which pertains to fire, which is referred to as fire restricting fire, and so on. The third function is change and their mutual influences. First, we discussed there is an abnormal change of generating. The abnormal change of generating cycle means that disease occurs by following the order of generation or against the order of generation. It includes 2 conditions: involvement of the child by its mother and involvement of the mother by its child. The involvement of the child by its mother means that disease occurs following the order of generation. It means that a disorder of a mother element involves or affects its child element, leading to both anomalies from mother to child. Because a mother element is weak, its child element also gets deficient. For example, if a kidney disease affects the liver, a mother disease involves its child. Next, we have the involvement of the mother by its child means that disease occurs against the order of generation. It means that a disorder of a child element involves or affects its mother element, leading to both anomalies from child to mother. For example, if a heart disease affects the liver, a child disease involves its mother. Abnormal change of restriction is over-restriction and counter-restriction. It means that disease occurs following order of restriction or against the order of restriction. For example, if a liver disease affects the spleen, which is called wood of restricting earth. If a liver disease involves the lung, which is called wood counter-restricting metal. So the next function is to guide the clinical diagnosis. The five Zhang viscera have certain relationships in the attribution to the 5 elements according to the changes of 5 colors, 5 flavors, 5 emotions, and pulse condition. Therefore, the theory of the 5 elements can be used to diagnose disease. According to its attribution to the 5 elements, the diagnosis can be made according to the laws of generation and restriction. For example, a patient whose complexion is greenish with a preference for sour food and a wiry pulse may be diagnosed as having a liver disease. A patient with spleen deficiency accompanied with a greenish complexion implies that wood pertaining to the liver over-restricts earth pertaining to the spleen with deficiency. The next function is to guide the treatment of disease. To prevent the changes of the disease. So during the disease onset, one Zhang viscera disease may affect other Zhang viscera. Therefore, when treating the pathological viscera, the other related Zhang viscera should also be treated according to the laws of generation, restriction, over-restriction, and counter-restriction. Thus, the changes of disease can be prevented and the recovery can be promoted. Next is to decide the therapeutic principle and method. So the therapeutic principle and method to be decided according to the law of generation. The therapeutic principle decided according to the law of generation include tonifying the mother for deficiency and sedating the child for excess. Tonifying the mother for deficiency. This principle is applied in the deficiency syndrome of both mother and child. For example, if kidney yin gets deficient and fails to nourish the liver wood, it implies that water fails to nourish wood. The therapeutic principle is not only to deal with the liver, but also to nourish kidney yin. Therefore, by nourishing the kidney, yin will nourish liver. Sedating the child for excess. This principle is applied in the excess syndrome of both mother and child. Take, for example, the liver fire that gets too hyperactive. The liver is the mother and the heart is its child. Therefore, sedating heart fire will help to restrict liver fire. Thank you for listening.